Sources in London say Buckingham Palace has uncovered the truth about Archie and Lilibet's lineage.
The seismic shockwave has just burst forth as new information from the broadened Epstein investigation was officially made public around the world this morning. As the world continues to be transfixed on billionaires and financial aristocrats, a newly decrypted piece of forensic information has inadvertently sparked what promises to be the most dire constitutional crisis that the British royal family has ever encountered. A payment invoice related to Meghan Markle's former account, encompassing a comprehensive medical package in Mexico, corresponds with chilling specificity to the timing of Archie's birth announcement, a birth to this very moment, lacking any official confirmation signature from the royal medical staff. What was once merely rumor, suspicion of a staged pregnancy, can no longer be simply relegated to the realm of rumor. It has coalesced into legal-grade evidence that now imperils the throne itself. From the recently revealed, allegedly staged Windsor introduction photograph to the inexplicable medical anomalies sprinkled throughout Face Bare Faye and the dubious legal status of a U.S. birth of life, each element points inexorably to one horrifying truth: a deliberately crafted fraud designed to install children lacking a verified bloodline into the royal line of succession. Prince William is now at a merciless crossroads. Will he continue to protect his younger brother, or will he reveal the truth to protect the integrity of the monarchy? A war has begun, one that is silent, invisible, and deadly. Is Harry a party to this plan, or is he a tragic figure who has been misled about the very roots of his own children? What irrefutable proof will William use to get rid of his sister-in-law without blowing the royal facade? And when the velvet curtain at Montecito is finally torn away, how will Meghan Markle confront a world that knows her tears are but a ruse to cover up a sinister political agenda? Across the globe, from CNN to the BBC, the same fiery red headline marches relentlessly. Breaking news. Epstein files declassified. Phase 2. The world obsessively searches for politicians and Hollywood stars whose names are hidden in the darkness of that list, preparing for the fall. But William's worry is elsewhere. Names that have fallen and parties that have debauched mean nothing to him, not even Andrew. He sits alone, a thin file bathed in the yellow light of a desk lamp, its significance far heavier than 1,000 pounds. This isn't any newsroom report. It is raw financial intelligence, culled from leaked cloud data by the palace's private intelligence unit. A covert circle of former MI6 operatives loyal only to the crown, and handed to him at precisely 3 a.m. Their orders had come in straightforward enough: find any link between the royals and Epstein's network to steer the damage control. What they found, though, was deadlier than any scandal. William, in white gloves, opens to page 42. His eye lands on a single line of international transfers, in red, buried among thousands of entries related to laundering. Alone, it would appear insubstantial until you place it within the arc of royal history. Stain was sued by Archwell LLC, a Delaware shell company set up by Meghan Markle's former financial handlers. Addressee: an private medical facility near the Mexican border, known to the high echelons for one's most clandestine procedures. Transfer description: full cycle fertility services, and absolute identity protection. Amount $500,000 US. Date: 1st May 2019. William's breath catches. May 1, 2019. 5 days before Meghan Markle announced she had gone into labor in Archie Harrison Mountbatten, Windsor was born. He rises and steps to the reinforced glass window, rain slashing Kensington Gardens as memories flood back, aligning with the invoice to form a chilling mosaic of deception. He remembers the anomalies that the family had decided to look past for the sake of unity. There wasn't the traditional hospital bulletin on the Buckingham Palace gates. No royal obstetrics team on standby. The same group that had delivered Windsor generations, from the Queen down to William's own children. Meghan had disappeared for several hours and then returned with a baby without submitting herself to mandatory medical checkups. To preserve privacy, William now realizes this isn't tabloid drama, not some petty feud. This is a matter of national security, of constitutional survival. If the child who once sat sixth in line to the throne was born through undisclosed commercial surrogacy, or worse, has no blood ties to Prince Harry, then this could be the most catastrophic constitutional fraud in a millennium of monarchy. Meghan hasn't just betrayed a family. She has falsified British history itself, trying to slip in an illegitimate heir into the Windsor line. William's hand goes to the internal secure line, dialing a number absent from any directory, a direct hotline to the Director of Royal Security. The only man he is certain will listen without judgment to what he has to say next. Put every resource we have into one name, Centro de Maternidad Fronta. I want the original contract linked to that May emails T Liaochen un Ishijo transaction. I need to know exactly who was on that delivery table, and above all, we will discover why the royal doctor's signatures are missing from the original documentation. I want hard proof, not speculation. There is a moment of silence on the other end of the call, and then a sharp response comes back, confirming the instruction. William ends the call. The war has begun. No gunfire, no cavalry charging in, no loud press conference. Just the hard, naked truth, about to be flung into the light. William understands what this Pandora's box really means. Once the lid is lifted, the relationship between him and Harry could be lost for good. But the crown doesn't permit the indulgence of feelings. Feelings are a luxury the monarchy can't afford. The bloodline must be protected, no matter what the price. 2 days after the Epstein files bombshell, William is no longer working alone. In complete secrecy, he assembles a small shadow team into the Black Room. 3 top-me digital forensics experts and a constitutional law expert. The room is soundproof, windowless, and disconnected from the internet, hidden deep beneath the palace, reserved for highest DAN-level crisis communications. On the massive high DAN resolution projector, the famous black Dan and Dan white photograph fills the wall. The image that once made media history. Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Philip, smiling over baby Archie in Meghan's embrace at Windsor, with Doria Ragland in attendance. The public once hailed it as a sign of modern monarchy, impenetrable, unbreakable proof that the Queen had accepted her mixed Dan race, great Jan grandchild. But now, under the new suspicion ignited by the Epstein evidence, and under William's merciless leadership, the photograph is treated like a crime scene. Your Highness, examine the optical effects in the left corner. The expert adjusts his glasses and points a laser pointer. The image is zoomed in to individual pixels. This is light Dan direction mapping. The lighting on the Queen and Prince Philip is clearly coming from the left Jan side window, casting long, sharp shadows to the right, as it would be in natural noonlight in the Windsor drawing room. But notice Meghan and the child. The lighting on the child's face is coming from above, heavily diffused, with soft shadows cast below the chin, as it would be in a studio Jan-grade lighting setup or an indirect flash photograph. William says nothing. His eyes an ice cave staring at the screen, mouth clamped tightly shut, the muscles jumping with strain. The 2 lighting sources cannot coexist in the same natural space. The voice of the expert suddenly becomes tight with emotion, fear creeping into his words as he concludes. And there is more. We conducted noise pattern and pixel integrity tests. The border of the blanket indicates a crop. The compression of the blanket and Meghan's dress does not match the background. He pauses, then strikes the blow that matters most. But most importantly, look at the Queen's gaze. Using the Sendi spatial reconstruction, the Queen and Prince Philip are not looking at the child. Their eyes are fixed on space just behind Meghan's shoulder. Conclusion: Meghan and the child were added to the frame after the original photo of the Queen. There is a heavy silence in the room. William feels nauseous. This is not sloppy editing. It is like a desecration. Meghan didn't lie about the circumstances of her birth. What she did was manipulate an image of William's grandmother to exploit the prestige and authority of the Queen to forge a certificate, to create a notion of legitimacy around this manufactured document. She used the Queen as a prop, a puppet. William's gaze falls on the legal aide who kneels in the dim corner near the archive boxes. And the administrative records. The security briefing referred to a change in a register. Show them to me. Now, the aide, visibly shaken, places Archie's birth certificate drawn from the General Registry Office on the table. Sir, this is the original registry entry 1 month after the birth. In June, 2016, the mother section was changed. The title Rachel Meghan Markle was deleted, and the new edition reads, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. The aide swallows hard. This is unprecedented in modern royal history. Catherine never did this with any of her 3 children. Diana never did either. The tone of William's words is cold, precise. Why would she do that? The aide steadies himself. Legally, internationally, taking the legal name out and leaving only the title is the common solution in messy cross-gen border surrogacy arrangements. The intention is to remove the biological mother's identification record altogether to avoid future disputes over maternity rights. And most important, link the child in perpetuity to the royal title, which has monetary value. William closes his eyes. Every loose end, every irregularity, the royal doctor's refusal, the disappearance from the hospital, the staged photo, the changed birth certificate, is now seamlessly integrated. They constitute the perfect template of a consummate con. Meghan never intended to be a mother in the classical sense. To her, the child was a pawn on a chessboard, a tool of leverage, a hostage of emotions, a lifetime insurance policy against the royal family. She fooled us all. William whispers as his eyes snap open, blazing with a cold, hard, and pitiless light. She fooled Harry, she fooled the Queen. She fooled the entire British legal system. But she made one fatal mistake. She thought their secret would remain forever buried. With determination, William gets up and begins to gather the files scattered all over the desk. Secure all documents, begin phase 2. Compare Harry's memoirs line by line. If the photo was doctored, then she dictated every detail of the delivery room to him. Meghan Markle is not intimidated by the Epstein revelations. She knows that her labyrinth of offshore corporations and sophisticated legal firewalls has buried the evidence deep enough. What really frightens her, what is closing in on her now, is the book resting so casually on the coffee table spare, the same skill she had perfected to such an extent, encouraging Harry to use it against his family, is now turned against her own credibility. The iPad in Meghan's hands is filled with dozens of articles from reputable medical journals and parenting websites around the world. The world is no longer concerned with Harry's emotional trauma or physical altercation with William. Rather, they are poring over the chapter about the birth of Archie, a chapter Meghan herself had obsessively edited. Medically impossible and scientifically absurd, declares a prominent Harley Street obstetrician in the Telegraph, the article racing around the world in seconds. Harry insists that Meghan had an epidural, but only 2 hours after giving birth. She was supposedly sitting up, munching on Nando's chicken, and bouncing on a yoga ball to soothe the baby. A first-year medical student would know that the anesthetic necessary for a first-time labor would leave a woman's legs numb for 4 to 6 hours. She wouldn't be able to walk, much less bounce. Meghan tosses the iPad onto the couch. The sound of the iPad hitting the couch reverberates through the room. It is in this moment that Meghan realizes her ultimate error. Harry, naive, emotionally distraught, his memory fogged by stress and drugs, merely recorded what she told him. He spoke of a Hollywood dream, the radiant mother, shining moments after giving birth, not the bloody struggle of actual childbirth. "Harry!" Meghan screams, her voice shattering with terror and rage. He bursts in from the garden, soil still smeared on his hands from playing with the dogs. His face etches with perpetual worry. His eyes are sunken from lack of sleep. "What's wrong?" he asks. "Did the paparazzi take pictures again? Why did you write about the chicken? About the laughing gas?" Meghan screams, her fingers shaking at the book as if it were tainted. "You're ruining us. They're saying I faked the pregnancy because of that one thing. Why didn't you ask me about it before printing it?" Harry stands stock, still shocked. "But that's what happened. You ate chicken. You laughed. I just wrote what I saw." He pauses. Or maybe that wasn't true. His eyes waver. For the first time in years, a worm of doubt creeps into his mind like poison. He searches his memory of that night at Portland Hospital, muddled, disjointed. He remembers being led out during the most intense moments by security. and an odd nurse, citing special protocols. He remembers waiting in the hallway for the cry of birth. And hearing nothing, when he was finally let back in, the baby was spotless, untouched by the chaos. And Meghan, perfectly composed, lightly made up, showed no signs of the exhaustion and trauma of a woman who had just traversed the boundary of life and death. Meghan senses it immediately. The change in his eyes, the glimmer of doubt. Blue eyes, just like William's. She realizes she's blown it. She changes course immediately. The wine glass slips from her fingers, shattering on the carpet as she falls to the floor, weeping, fragile, shattered, the perfect victim. "They're attacking me, Harry," she wails. They rely on cold medical facts to discount a mother's suffering. She clings to his legs, tears streaming down her face. "They want to say our child isn't real, so they can take away his rights. They want to destroy me, just like they destroyed your mother. You promised you'd protect me from suffering like Diana." The mention of Diana is a trigger. Harry's chest is suddenly flooded with pain, and he feels the blind, primal urge to protect. He fell to his knees, taking Meghan close as the knife-sharp guilt bore down onto the fragile doubt that threatened to seep in. He murmured apologies, reassuring her in a rush. Inside, however, he felt that a single seed of veracity had already taken hold, and it was starting to push up through the ground. A question was mounting within Harry's mind, one he had never dared vocalize. Why can't I remember the delivering doctor, and why did nobody in the family show up for a visit that day? If Archie's birth had been wrapped up in gaps and contradictions, the second child, Lilibet Diana, who arrived in California, was a complete phantom to the British Royal Institution. The baby girl reportedly came at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, completely beyond the access of royal scrutiny. No royal obstetrician could travel to the United States to attend upon birth or sign the certificate. No formal announcement, framed in gold and placed at the gates of Buckingham Palace, marked the moment as tradition had prescribed for centuries. And most importantly, the sacred rite, the christening under the Church of England, never occurred. A ritual necessary for a child to be officially considered by both God and Crown for succession rights simply did not take place. After gathering proof of the Mexican surrogacy arrangements, William chose a starkly different tactic for the Lilibet case. He rejected public confrontation or denial, knowing such a move would paint the monarchy as cruel toward children. Instead, he and the palace's most senior advisors carried out a colder, more merciless defense. They call it the ice wall. It is as simple as the rule, acknowledge nothing more than what one has witnessed. As Lilibet's birthday approached, Meghan Markle, working from her base in Montecito, embarked on a full-on media blitz. Via her attorneys, she inundated the palace with demands that its website declare her daughter a princess and that a christening be staged at Windsor with King Charles in attendance. Meghan believed she had pulled her strongest card. By tying the Queen's private nickname, Lilibet, to her child, she hoped she had emotionally boxed the royal family into compliance, for fear of looking heartless. Instead, she got something much scarier. Silence. No bells rang at Westminster Abbey. No congratulatory messages lit up the royal social feeds. No official acknowledgement using the title princess. Her emails disappeared into the void. No reply from the king's private secretary. No word from Prince William. Inside the Montecito mansion, silence began to gnaw on her nerves. She desperately called her media friends, but none of them would run a confirmation of anything about a royal title without palace backing. What are they doing? Meghan snapped during one tense Zoom with her PR team, her cheeks flushed with fury. Why won't they react? If they deny, I go on television, cry as the wronged victim. If they confirm, I win the branding game. But they're quiet, she hissed. They act like my child doesn't exist at all. A longtime Hollywood PR strategist, reading the room, spoke with care. Your Highness, they're not ignoring you. They're pushing you into a gray zone. Lilibet exists biologically in the United States, but institutionally, she doesn't exist in the United Kingdom. In the eyes of history and the Constitution and royal law, she is effectively unclaimed. Without formal palace confirmation, the title you are using in the US is empty, legally invalid, and commercially worthless. Meghan froze. The phone fell from her hands, and in that moment, She knew William, brother-in-law, so hitherto stiff and old-fashioned, had boxed her in from the very freedom she had ever demanded, given it fully, total freedom, meaning total isolation from power. Without royal validation, her children were only rich American kids in Hollywood. Not princes, not princesses. No blue blood to peddle, no royal mythology to hype for Netflix. William's silence wasn't weakness, nor was it tolerance. Rather, it was pure contempt. He was erasing them without a word, unable to bear the cold exclusion, certainly the ultimate nightmare for an addict of visibility, such as herself. Meghan made one last, desperate choice. She went back to her most trusted weapon, the same one she'd wielded in 2021 American media. And the victim story. In a carefully staged exclusive with a major U.S. network, Meghan appeared in a pristine white dress, seated in a garden strewn with roses, radiating sanctified sorrow, the image of a mother fighting oppression. "They wouldn't sign my child's papers," she whispered to the camera, the tears falling in a calculated rhythm. "They say they can't confirm because we're in the U.S., but I know the real reason. It's her skin color," she pressed on, her voice quivering. "They want to strip Lily of her security. Their silence isn't bureaucracy. It's psychological abuse. They're trying to erase my children from history because they aren't white enough by their standards." This was a strategic strike, aimed straight at the monarchy's softest spot in this era of social justice fervor. Harry sat to her side, clenching her hand, eyes full of sorrow as he nodded. He felt that his family was persecuting his wife and kids, blind to the fact that he was being steered into a weapon against his own kin. But Meghan had made a fatal misstep. By 2026, the audience wasn't the starry-eyed public from 2020. Patience had run dry after years of contradictions, grievances, and the public self-pity of a couple already staggeringly rich. The moment the interview aired, support didn't materialize. The internet lit up with rebuttals. Online sleuths and royal commentators began laying out side comparisons and timelines. If the royal family is racist, one viral post wondered, why host a wedding costing tens of millions with a gospel choir inside the cathedral itself? The tweet racked up millions of likes in hours. More followed, you say. They won't protect your child, but you are the one who hid the birth records and spurned royal doctors. If you want recognition, another post implored, release the birth certificate with a doctor's signature. Transparency is what terrifies you, Meghan, a respected journalist declared on British television, frank and forthright. But the stingiest blow, the mistake that really shattered Meghan's credibility, came from her own excess. To prove maternal devotion, to counter the claims of coldness, Meghan handed the network a video of Lilibet's birthday in the Montecito garden, showing the child laughing and scampering among flowering bushes. Within hours, California botanists and horticulturists weighed in. The purple jacaranda blossoms filling the frame bloom only in May and fade by early June in Santa Barbara's climate. Lilibet's birthday is the 4th of June. Yet the footage was labeled as filmed on that very day. Even more damaging, solar angle analysis showed the footage had been shot in early spring morning light, not early summer. The sentence came fast and was heavy. The video was filmed weeks ago, or maybe completely staged. Even simple moments seemed contrived. Public opinion turned savagely. A label stuck, pathological liar. Hashtag number Meghan failure topped worldwide. The PR push collapsed under its own weight. From London, William watched the fallout through reports and briefings. He did nothing to intervene. He didn't explain himself. He didn't defend himself. He just let Meghan continue to dig the hole deeper and deeper, every word drawing her closer to her own destruction. By contrast, the silence had reshaped him. No longer restraint, it wore the air of a king, standing unmoved amidst the chaos of his sister. In-laws outburst. The moment had finally come. With Meghan's credibility eroded by the glaring light of public scrutiny, William readied the final move. On his desk lay the report from the Mexican investigator, sealed for months, and it was more than a payment record. It was a complete digital version of the surrogacy agreement, retrieved from the hard disk of a closed facility. This had Meghan Markle's authenticated digital signature. It included the use of a donor egg and the services of a local surrogate for hire, while Meghan would publicly wear a prosthetic pregnancy to maintain appearances. William decided not to make the document public. He would not drag innocent children into public humiliation. He would not let the monarchy be seen as wringing family disputes through the spectacle. Instead, he held an infinitely more powerful weapon: symbolic, political, irreversible, exclusionary power. Telegenic William, resplendent in full military dress as Colonel of the Irish Guards during last week's high-profile documentary to mark the first anniversary of King Charles's coronation, was asked a pointed question about Harry and the grandchildren in the United States by an interviewer, an accomplished journalist, painstakingly vetted by the palace. William met the view of the camera. His expression was steady, unsentimental. His voice was even sharp as a blade. "Family is sacrosanct to everybody," he said, "but the institution of monarchy depends on two inviolable bases, truth and public trust. When these are willfully subverted and abused for private gain, there is no course but this one." He paused for a moment. "For me, and for the future of this institution, that relationship crossed beyond forgiveness a long time ago. The Crown cannot, and will not, tolerate deceit that undermines the integrity of history." He never named Meghan. He never named Harry yet. The message was clear. Forgive or not, deceit had been served its sentence. That sentence was proclaimed openly. Excommunication, publicized to all. That evening, sitting alone in a quiet Los Angeles bar, Harry's mobile phone beeped. The message was from an old military friend who had remained in touch clandestinely. There was no text, only an attachment and one line. "You must see this. Before it's too late," William had been right. Harry opened the file. It was the surrogacy contract from Mexico. His vision blurred. His hands shook so violently that the phone almost slipped from his fingers. He saw Meghan's signature, the dates, the guarantee of absolute identity protection. All the shattered memories came crashing back at once. Meghan blocking him from ultrasounds, lights always off when she changed, her refusal to let royal doctors examine her, Archie's impossibly rapid birth. He was not a biological father in the way he thought he was. Or at the very least, Meghan had not given birth as she claimed. Harry sprinted for his car, racing back to Montecito. He stormed into Meghan's office, where she was yelling into the phone at her agent about Dior's cancellation of her contract. "You lied to me," Harry said, his voice trembling, shattered by grief and shock. "They know everything, Mexico, the contract. You didn't give birth to Archie." Meghan turned. Her face went ashen as the phone fell from her fingers. She was about to deny it, to fall into character. Harry held up his phone. The screen lit up with irrefutable evidence. "It was for us," Meghan screamed, lunging at him, her eyes wild. "It was the only way your child could have a title. I couldn't carry a child because of health problems, but I needed them to exist on paper. I did everything to protect your family. I gave you an heir." Harry took a step back. The woman he had loved, protected from the world, left his father and brother for. He no longer saw a wife, or a mother, or an activist. He saw a traitor, a master manipulator who used children, products of a trade deal, as pawns in a game of power with the British monarchy. "You didn't protect the family," Harry whispered, his tears falling freely. "You made me an accomplice to the biggest deception of our generation. You made me betray my own family, betray my grandmother." His voice cracked. "You never loved me. You loved the title I brought you." Harry removed the wedding ring from his finger, the ring he once swore to wear forever, and left it beside the fake contract. The sound of the ring hitting the glass table was loud, and with it, the tragedy was over.